Why has anybody done that?
And his Wizzo, Marc Garcia, also a lieutenant, will put the Super Hornet through a series of flight demonstrations and maneuvers, putting the Hornet at the edges of its flight envelope. It is powered by two General Electric F414 engines, generating 42,000 pounds of thrust. As they release the brakes, I want you to watch and listen to the power of this Super Hornet. The Hornet's new Sting, some 30% larger than the original Hornet. As the power comes up, and as they do the dirty roll-off takeoff. Setting up for the flat pirouette. Flat pirouette will demonstrate the Super Hornet's unique ability to operate at slow speeds and high angles of attack. Watch as they execute a maximum performance loop away from in front of the crowd, even at slow speed. They're able to rotate the nose 180 degrees parallel to the ground. Chinz and Hi-Lo are now setting up for the minimum radius turn to the tail stand. Chinz will select max afterburner, set a 90-degree angle of bank, and hold 7.5 Gs for 360 degrees of turn. At the end of the minimum radius turn, watch as they set up a max performance pull into the vertical, followed by a -2 G pushover to level flight. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rhino minimum radius turn. That's more uncomfortable?
Oh yeah, the negative D is always worse than the positive.
Oh boy. Well, what are they setting up for next?
Next we're setting up for the Super Hornet high-speed pass.
Well, tell you what, let's go live to the cockpit and see if we can catch Hi-Lo in there. Hey, Hi-Lo, this is Rob Ryder. Can you hear us?
Hey, Rocket, loud and clear.
All right, buddy, call the speeds on this high-speed pass, if you will.
There's burner, covering 600 knots. There's 650. 700 knots.
what's coming up next for these guys?
All right, next you can expect what we call the vertical pirouette. This next maneuver, we're going to be approaching show center at 400 miles per hour. Chinz and Hi-Lo will put the aircraft into the vertical and roll the canopy towards the crowd. At the top, the aircrew will push the nose below the horizon, then pull the nose back up above the horizon beyond the aircraft without ever taking its canopy off the crowd. This ability to rapidly swap nose and tail position gives the Super Hornet a distinct advantage in the air-to-air arena.
Here they come, the vertical pirouette. And Marc, Hi-Lo, Garcia. Now, we've seen loops today, right?
That's right.
We've seen rolls. We've seen all sorts of different maneuvers. But this time, the guys in the Super Hornet are going to do a demonstration of kind of maneuverability in terms of the angles they're going to draw, right?
That's right. We're going to show off our impressive nose position by executing what we call the square loop. We're going to rapidly reposition the nose 4 times, flying a square path throughout the sky.
All right, keep your eyes on this Super Hornet. First flown in 1995, when the Navy needed a replacement for the F-14 Tomcat. This was the airplane that they built, based on the proven Hornet design of the original FA-18, that this time Chris Walker and Marc Garcia setting up for the square loop. And that will be one of those high G push you down to the seat maneuvers, right?
One of those high G maneuvers,
Chinz and Hi-Lo, they'll roll upside down, hanging from the straps. Are they getting close? Go ahead.
It takes an incredible amount of concentration to fly upside down going at that speed.
No kidding. Well, let's fade it down. This is called the inverted whisper pass. Sounded quieter than a regional jet. Now, there is a term that we've talked about several different times throughout the course of the day, and that's alpha, or angle of attack. And quite basically, it's the number of degrees the nose is pulled up above the horizon, or the relative wind, which in this case, it's the horizon. Super Hornet, because of its redundant computer systems, can operate at very slow speeds and high angles of attack in what we're going to see right now. And we'll go back to the cockpit and talk to Hi-Lo again. Hey, Hi-Lo, Rob Ryder with Jeff Mayer down here and the guys. Can you say how slow you're going to go here?
Hey, Rob, how you doing? Yeah, we're going to dedicate to the past all the military spouses and attendants. We couldn't do what we do without you. Currently flowing through 150 miles per hour.
Now, the aircraft weighs how much right now?
Flowing through 110 miles per hour.
All right, Jeff, what does he weigh out there?
We're looking up to about 45,000 pounds.
45,000 pounds, you're going 110 miles an hour?
Now flowing through 100 miles per hour.
And how many degrees nose up? Looks like about 85.
The training we here at NAS Oceana provides the ability.
Pretty incredible. What are we going to watch next? This is what?
That's what we call
because the enemy would start to roll right with it. By that time, you're going off to the left. Now approaching it. But the carrier fleet is at its most vulnerable as it's pointed into the wind for landing aircraft on the deck.
That's right, we use the carrier brake to expeditiously get all our aircraft safely aboard our 100,000-ton U.S. Navy aircraft carrier. We take great professional pride in it.
Let's listen to the calls from the landing signal officer to the Super Hornet as they approach for landing. He just called bolter, bolter, bolter. That means the hook didn't catch one of those wires. But whether they catch the wires or not, the throttle still comes forward, just to make sure they have enough power.
Maintenance professionals here at the show today. They are ADC Harold Mack from Detroit, Michigan. AM1 Brian Lamona from Clifton, New Jersey. 82 Juan Martinez from upstate New York. 82 Alvin Smith from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. AM2 Ryan Needham from Buffalo, New York. AE2 Joshua Dunn from Ionian, New York. And finally AME2 Christopher Marvel from Shreveport, Louisiana.
And thanks also to Firewalkers International, Rick Sarge Myers and his crew that have been working out there. They are an awesome pyro team. Pleased and honored to be part of this year's show. The team members have over 150 years combined air show experience. And they're honored to be part of this great show and want to take time to remember all of our military members, their families and veterans, and those affected by the hurricane. This year's show team is made up of retired U.S. Air Force, U.S. Army, and Navy members, and a special treat, a grandfather and granddaughter team working pyro together. Remember, an air show without pyro is just another fly-in. That's what Rick Myers and his gang say. Big round of applause, if you will, for our pyro team working hard since about 5 o'clock this morning to get all the pyro out this weekend.
Hostile territory, they stepped it up for them.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander of Naval Air Forces is proud to present the Navy Tailhook Legacy Flight Demonstration. For over 107 years, naval aviation has not only been at the tip of the spear defending our nation, it's also been at the forefront of technological advances which have made our country great. From the courageous pilots who proved that aircraft could take off and land from ships at sea, to the naval air crews who are taking the fight to the enemy today, a long legacy of excellence and perseverance precedes them. What you're about to witness is dedicated to keeping naval aviation's proud legacy alive and well. With a high-tech weapons system known as the VFA-106 Super Hornet. Dynamic formation flight demonstrations, we aim to inspire the best and brightest of the next generation of young Americans to join the ranks of naval aviation. In its early years, naval air power played second fiddle to the great dreadnought of the high seas. The battleship, scouting for enemy ships was the limit. Scouting for enemy ships was the limit of the new aircraft's mission. And during World War II, at the battles of the Coral Sea and Midway, projecting power from aircraft carriers shaped the future of naval combat. Through the inspired heroism of a handful of naval aviators, two of the most decisive sea battles of the Pacific War were won. By the end of that conflict, the aircraft carrier and her air wing had replaced the battleship as the dominant weapon of naval warfare. Through the hard work and dedication of private individuals and nonprofits, many of these glorious warbirds are still flying today. The pilots and maintainers play a critical role in keeping the history of naval aviation actively flying for all to see. During the air show season, several different vintage warbirds participate in tailhook legacy flights, and some are the only flying example of their type in the world today. We'll have an opportunity to have your cameras ready as the Corsair and Super Hornet approach. Again, the Super Hornet flown by Chinz, Lieutenant Chris Walker, and Hi-Lo, Lieutenant Marc Garcia, and the Corsair flown by Jim Tobul. Combines the R-2800 with the two F414 engines on the Super Hornet. Let's watch and listen. The FA-18 Super Hornet is the premier all-weather strike fighter of the day. It's been several roles for carrier airplanes and gives the missions of the Rhino include air superiority, fighter escort, suppression of enemy air defenses, all-weather day and night precision strike, tactical reconnaissance, and aerial refueling. The Rhino exemplifies our military's might, and is a key reason you can sleep soundly knowing that the U.S. Navy truly owns the night. Its unique ability to take off and land from the carrier with a fearsome variety of weapons and in any conditions are its hallmark. It is expected to remain in service until at least 2035. On their final pass, the tailhook legacy flight will approach from behind you, pass over show center, and perform an opposing pitch-out maneuver for landing. And after the break, the Corsair will continue its downwind turn, reconfigure for landing, and the Super Hornet will reverse while climbing to the vertical to achieve separation for a carrier break and landing. Let's listen as the legacy flight approaches from behind you.
Do we have any fresh cards?
Jim Tobul on the left is heading up for landing.
Wait another 10 minutes. I said, so I guess I'm saying, you got any water? Nope, all I got is coffee.
This is a unique photo opportunity. As Jim Tobul sets up for landing, he'll be rolling out on the runway as Chinz and Hi-Lo will approach from the right.
30 feet.
Jim Tobul has called a 3-mile final. We can see the Corsair now with the sun glinting off the wings of the bent-winged bird. About 1.5 miles out. Jim has touched down. Throttles are coming forward aboard the Super Hornet. Chinz and Hi-Lo now 2 miles out and accelerating to over 500 miles an hour.
And show center.
Cameras on, here we go. The Corsair and the Rhino. Chinz and Hi-Lo will come in for one more carrier break to land. Now, Jeff, as they approach, this is one of those things that they do this because you can they got to move a lot of airplanes onto the deck or launch them. How fast can you recover airplanes on the deck of one of our biggest carriers?
We are typically one aircraft every 60 seconds landed on that aircraft carrier.
But it is all pretty well choreographed, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's choreographed for safety as well as safety.
And once an aircraft touches down, that aircraft is moved off to the side. The wires or the cable that the tailhook caught is pulled back into position and reset based on the weight of the aircraft that's going to be landing. Am I correct about that?
That's right. So depending on if it's an E2, a C2, an F-18, or an E-18 Growler, they're going to set that cable for the appropriate weight.
They're getting ready to call the ball as they would. The descent rate of a Super Hornet coming in to land on the carrier is what?
You're looking at about 500 to 700.
So that's, you're just slamming it down, right?
Yeah, we try not to, but it is basically a controlled crash.
I hate to think that, but it's unlike the way general aviation and airliners and Air Force aircraft land. They touch down gently, but when you have to land out at sea on what is virtually a postage stamp in the Pacific or the Atlantic or whatever piece of ocean or sea you're in, accuracy is hugely important, isn't it?
Absolutely, and there's a whole team that works together to get us safely onto the deck of that carrier.
Well, I appreciate Chris Walker, Marc Garcia, you, Jeff Mayer, and your team up here, and everybody from VFA-106. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in a round of applause for the Gladiators and your United States FA-18 Super Hornet demonstration. Better than anybody about metal strength and how much metal needed to be added to a structure to keep it strong but without adding dead weight. And Goodyear was making parts for a number of different aircraft early in the war. So when Chinz was tapped out on production and they needed another production facility, they went to Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company in Brewster to produce more airplanes.
Hello, Chinz. Hello, Hi-Lo. Hello, Torque. If you guys are ready, why don't you fold the wings up? Wings, 3, 2, 1, now.
Ladies and gentlemen, one final round of applause for Jim Tobul in the Corsair, Chris Walker, and Marc Garcia in the Super Hornet.